Welcome to Fully Booked, the bookish podcast where I'll chat about all things book and reading related. Whether you're a new or a pro reader, there's something for everyone to learn. I'm here to help you on your reading journey and find that next great read that will keep you fully booked. Hello readers, and welcome to episode 56 of Fully Booked, which feels crazy to say because this is our last episode of 2025. And I don't know why for me, it still feels like only yesterday that I was turning on the camera and filming my first ever video episode for you guys. I guess for those of you who haven't been around on the pod as long, then you might not know I was doing exclusively audio-only episodes pretty much throughout 2024 for the first couple months that I started the podcast. But I did post my first ever video episode actually around this time last year in 2024. So it's crazy to see how, I guess, full circle we've kind of come, especially since for at least the second half of this year, I've actually been doing all video episodes, and that is definitely something that's going to continue in 2026. So I hope you guys are continuing to enjoy seeing my face. Although this does make me curious how many of you are actually listening versus watching the podcast. I do know a couple of my listeners who are exclusively, they listen only on audio, but I have been seeing, the views and the subscriber count, more people joining our little community here. So I know some of you guys are definitely watching on YouTube as well. Either way, I'm glad to have you here. For our last episode of the year, we are going to be going through my 2026 reading goals and my 26 for 2026. Also, two really quick apologies before we really get into it. For those of you watching on video right now, you can probably see that we have the whole OG desk setup going on with the camera angle and the setup. And that's because I am using my old camera. Actually, it's actually my husband's camera technically. But yeah, I am using this other camera to film instead of the new one that you guys have been seeing me film on for the last couple of months. And that's because the configuration and I guess cable and wire setup is a little bit chaotic still, and everything is already set up with the old camera that just stays here all the time, so that is why we're filming on there. So the video quality is a little bit lacking today. I do apologize. I did want to set up my new camera, but it was just a lot easier and was going to save me time to just keep everything as it was. So hopefully this is good enough for you guys. And then second thing, for those of you who remember last year's episode around this time, I did already have my Christmas tree set up in the background, which added that nice little festive touch. But unfortunately, because we've kind of been running around and catching up on things from getting back from vacation, I haven't had time to actually set up our Christmas tree. I actually only picked it up yesterday from my parents' house because we do store some seasonal things and decor at my parents' house still, so I was only able to go and pick everything up yesterday, so it's still kind of sitting and waiting to be set up. The only thing that I really set up was, well, you guys can't see, but I put a wreath on our front door of our unit, and if you look above my head, I did just put up our monogrammed Christmas stockings, which we have had those since last year. Unfortunately though, because like I said, I've been running around, those are still woefully empty, but I do have one or two small things I can start putting at least in my husband's stocking, so hopefully we will get those filled very soon. So the plan really is to just yap about reading goals, as well as show you guys some of my setup for my digital reading journal, something which I'm hoping to upkeep for the remainder of 2026, maybe even beyond that. So since we're about to embark on an episode where I'm just gonna let the wind take me a bit and we'll see how long it goes, you guys know the drill. Get a snack, get a drink, and get cozy or get busy if you are in the middle of doing something and you're listening on audio right now. Anyways, let's get started, and I will meet you guys in my screen recording app. Hello everyone, and welcome to my digital reading journal. Now, for those of you watching, you can see that I made a front cover, and I might have to change this at some point because I put 2026, assuming that I only use this once, but since it is a digital journal, and I'm not going to run into the same issue of physical space as I would with a physical journal, I'm thinking maybe I'll just continue this journal on even into 2027, especially since some of the spreads I'm about to show you guys are definitely going to go beyond 2026, seeing as there's just no way that I'm going to complete all of the books that I'm including in each of these pages. Yeah, also just disclaimer, a lot of the design and different elements that you're going to see, if you're watching this episode, I did not do myself. I literally just picked out a template in Canva, kind of went with it, and tried to just make the rest of the pages match in terms of overall aesthetic and some of the colors I chose. So that's pretty much that. I would have loved to customize this more if I had time, and I can always go back and do that if I really want to. So for the first couple pages of my digital journal, I wrote down my 2026 reading goals. I actually can't show you guys the page before this because that's actually going to be in the next episode. But yeah, I wrote down 6 different goals that I want to try and stick to throughout the whole of 2026. And I feel like that's a pretty good number and amount of guidance to kind of guide my reading for the rest of this year. So the first goal that I wrote down is to read nonfiction books that I like, and I put example memoirs. Because if you guys had noticed, from the nonfiction books that I was picking up this year, there were very few that I actually enjoyed. Like, I feel like all the nonfiction books that I rated above 4 stars were all memoirs. There were a couple problems with this. I guess first of all, I was taking recommendations from people who don't really have the same reading taste as me. Also, in addition to that, they don't really read as much in general. And I think, like, honestly, I just get way better recommendations from people who are like a little more aligned to my taste. And if they themselves know that I would like that book, then I can trust their opinion and that I will like the book. But I was kind of just picking up nonfiction books, I guess, sort of randomly on recommendation from people who just read it and they enjoyed it. And I think it's also okay to, like, diversify, but then also stick to what you like or what you know within, like, certain genres or subgenres. And I think nonfiction, I have a pretty good idea now of what types of books I like, and I'm kind of veering away from subgenres that I even used to like reading. Because I feel like I used to be more in some of the self-help and personal development nonfiction books, which a lot of people are still into and are still very popular, but that's just not as much for me anymore. But I do know that I love memoirs. Memoirs are always something I'll turn to. I think it's because memoirs are such a good gap between fiction and nonfiction, where if you're really into like different storytelling, or if you're story oriented when it comes to the types of books that you pick up, the memoirs are really great because it's basically someone just telling their life story and the different events and people they meet. And if they're able to tell and write their story in such a, you know, beautiful way that really hooks you in, then I feel like it's not that much different from reading fiction in a way. And so yeah, that's why I put that hopefully I can read more nonfiction books that I like, which for me would probably be memoirs, and then also some of the Christian nonfiction that I do want to get to. So yeah, here's to reading more nonfiction that I like. And then for those of you who are watching, you can see them all written out, but obviously I'm reading them out if you're only listening on audio. So the second goal that I wrote down is to read 2 to 3 books max at a time. I think at the beginning of the year, I was honestly still a very chaotic reader where I was reading like up to 5 books at a time. And of course, I'd vary the formats with having like my physical books, Kindle, my audiobooks. But even with varying the formats, I was finding that it wasn't enough to not have the different books and stories start to blend together in my brain. And I was just starting to feel very scattered, very disorganized at some point, and I couldn't keep everything straight. And it was actually starting to stress me out trying to read so many books at one time, because I feel like it felt impressive at one point, but now I'm realizing that I think it's time to start slowing down in terms of reading books, concurrently. Hence why I made this as part of my 2026 reading goals. I also put a star beside 3 because ideally, I really only want to read 3 books at a time if the 3rd book is an audiobook. I really want to have this goal, try to slow down. The ideal would honestly be to read like only 1 book at a time. I would like to be one of those people, because I know some people are very much, they can read 1 book at a time. Especially if they're a fast reader, it's also okay because they finish a book within like 2 to 3 days max, and then they're already on to the next book. I feel like for me, because I'm a little bit of a slower reader still, I say slower as in it takes me more than 2 to 3 days to finish a book, that's why I still have this goal of like I can read 2 books at a time. Yeah, we're gonna see how that goes in 2026. Third goal that I wrote down, I wrote do in quotation marks cozy reading days instead of readathons. And by readathons, I mean like 24-hour readathons. I feel like if any of you are in the same book content space online, and BookTube I would say in particular, I feel like a lot of creators have started to move away and have decided that we are going to leave behind the 24-hour readathons in 2025. I feel like some people even left this behind in 2024, if I'm going to be honest. I've started to realize it too from the lack of readathons that I did this year. I think I honestly only did one 24-hour readathon using the timer method way early in the year. And I feel like the reason why is that 24-hour readathons, or at least kind of labeling it in that way, just kind of started to make the idea stressful, because there's something about having to read for a day straight, or if you do like the 12 and the 12 like hours, it was just still becoming very stressful, where for me I felt like I had to plan so much in advance, where you have to plan what books that you want to try to read, and with that the number of books, and then for me also put aside time on my calendar so I make sure not to make plans or appointments or anything with anyone, and I have that dedicated time to read. And then for me, because I also make content, I want to like share and bring you guys along on the journey, so I have to make time for like filming and editing the readathon and that process as well. And it was just kind of becoming a whole big thing. And then I've probably mentioned a bunch of times in like past episodes like how busy my weekends were at some points throughout the year. Like I feel like I just never had a full day or a couple hours to like dedicate to sit down, read, and then have to like film or record that as well, the process. It was all just becoming too much, and it was making readathons overall more stressful when it's supposed to be something fun that just gives you an excuse to have some dedicated time of reading. And so I feel like at least, I guess, labeling it and reframing it as a cozy reading day rather than a readathon makes it a lot more fun and comforting, because it's really just an excuse, honestly, to like also slow down and relax. And then fourth goal that I have in quotation marks, 3 strikes rule for TBR books. So what I mean by this is that I've been trying to be more consistent, if you guys haven't noticed, of keeping up and posting my monthly TBRs, and then also checking in at the end of each month with the monthly wrap-ups, or I should say bi-monthly wrap-ups of which books that I actually read from my TBR. So I mainly wrote down this rule because I've had a couple months here and there this past year where I've skipped 2 or 3 books on the TBR, partly because I do have points in the month where like I really just want to mood read and pick up whatever book that I'm most looking forward to. So I'm implementing this rule so that I actually remember to go back to books that I skipped over. So basically, it's what it sounds like. If by the 3rd time that I put this book on a TBR, and actually this isn't just for monthly TBRs. This also counts for monthly and like seasonal TBRs. Basically, yeah, if it's the 3rd time that this book has been put on, really any TBR, then I either have to read it or I take it off my radar completely. To be fair, I think I'm going to clarify a little. Just because I take a book like completely off my radar, like for example, I'll remove books off my Goodreads periodically, and like I'll unhaul physical books and stuff like that, doesn't mean that it has to be gone forever. The reason I was having trouble is because I think I just don't like the feeling of having to like get rid of and take off book from my TBR forever, but I realized that it doesn't need to be that drastic. I can kind of just take it off my radar, and if it happens to come up on my radar again, whether it's like through my social media or if someone recommends it to me very highly, then it can go back on the TBR. Like, it's not all or nothing. But yeah, I'm putting that in so again I can be a little more realistic, but also try to remember to go back to some books. Also, looking at the reading goals right now, I totally am just realizing that I forgot to write down the number goal that I want to try to hit in 2026. And I think part of the reason is that because it's still a little early in December, at the time that I'm filming this, I've still been pondering this a little. So far, it's possible this could change later, but my thinking so far is that I'm actually going to try something very different in terms of setting a number goal for 2026, where I'm gonna set my number goal to 52 books, which is probably crazy because you guys know that I read over 100 books this past year, so you're probably wondering, why am I going backwards now? My reasoning behind this is that I've actually seen a couple people do this method as well, where they actually set their goal low every year. Actually, I just picked 52 because 52 weeks in a year is about 1 book a week. I don't know, what do you call it? I don't know if you call it lowballing. Basically setting a low bar for yourself instead, so that you then well exceed that goal every single year you're reading because you know that you're definitely going to blow past 52 books. And then for me, I would probably do the thing where like I would probably just change my goal later in the year. I know other people obviously go the other route where they're like high achievers and so they set a higher number that they like really, really want to hit that year. Maybe if you guys haven't noticed, the theme is not really high achieving for 2026 in terms of reading goals. And so I'm kind of keeping that same mindset with the number goal as well. So yeah, that's my reasoning there, if that makes any sense. I have a feeling I will definitely hit that goal as well if I set it at 52. I feel like these last two goals I wrote down pretty much go hand in hand where, like I was just talking about a bit before, I wrote down be realistic with my online TBR. I'm not much of a physical book reader still, so I feel like my physical book TBR and like collection is not getting out of hand, but I feel like my online TBR does start to get a little bit out of control. And I guess by online, for me, I mean like lists on like my Goodreads and whatever is downloaded on my Kindle e-reader, which is actually a lot. I think I had over 130 books at some point this year on my Kindle. Well, that's a lot for me. It might not be a lot for other people. So yeah, I'm just writing that down to, like it says, be realistic. I think I even had a day where I got into a bit of a, I guess, digital cleaning mood. And I actually did remove, I think, at least 30 books from my Goodreads and I think at least 5 books from my Kindle, which maybe doesn't sound like a lot in the grand scheme of things, but we're slowly working our way through. I think it's because I tend to have a habit of just adding books to my Goodreads and even my Kindle. Like, for example, if I'm subscribed to anything like Kindle Unlimited, I'll just like see books if I'm looking in the store and I'll just download them thinking that it looks cute. I might read it. And like, I get sucked in way too easily when it comes to like my online TBR. So I feel like I need to start managing this a bit better and get realistic about, you know, which books I'm actually going to read versus which books maybe thinking about it a little bit more I don't necessarily need to keep on my radar. And again, I might not banish books forever. It's just kind of getting them a little more off my radar. And then, yeah, this last goal going hand in hand is to unhaul physical books that have been on my shelf for 3+ years. Actually, I feel like maybe I should change that to 2+ years. You know what? I think I'm going to go in, I'm going to change that. Because, yeah, I feel like, I don't know. I'd have to actually count so I could get a number and percentage for you guys. But I feel like, honestly, I want to say maybe at least a third of the books on my physical bookshelf have been there for over 2 years, or definitely at least a year, because I used to be a little bit more of an impulse book buyer where I would just see some titles, I would read the description, add to cart, and it would be on my bookshelf before you knew it. And again, it's just another goal to kind of keep things in check and be realistic with my reading and my physical books. And also, if I unhaul more books, I can also make more room to buy books that I'm actually going to read. Like I've told you guys a bit before, I am the type of person where I kind of hate keeping books that I know I've just had for too long and I'm really never going to read at the end of the day. Or I guess also if it's a book that I've already read and I maybe only gave it like a 3 stars or lower than that, I would rather pass that book to someone who's going to enjoy it than keep it just to keep a collection. Because I know some people are really big into like building their home library and having this whole collection of books. But for me, if it was a fairly low rating, I just don't really feel good keeping that book personally when I know that this could be a 4 or 5 star read for somebody else. And it could just be put in, I don't know, kind of better, loving hands. That's kind of my reasoning for unhauling books as well. And then this next page is one of the types of spreads they made that I'm actually pretty proud of, because I feel like even design wise but also like the actual prompts and stuff took me a while to make, but I think these are just so fun, and I've seen other people doing them last year, is I guess TBR bingos. So the page that I'm showing you guys right now is specifically one to kind of visualize and I don't know if gamify is the right word, but kind of gamify my reading goals for 2026. So I kind of made this 2026 reading goals bingo card, and I kind of made categories for each of the different columns. So I'm not gonna honestly read each one to you guys because like I just don't think that's necessary. But for the B column, I made kind of all author related prompts. And then the I one, I don't really know how to describe this, but it's kind of to get me to try new authors or revisit certain titles by like already known authors. For those of you watching right now, I'm so sorry if my face froze randomly for a few seconds. I don't know why this screen recording app likes to kind of randomly freeze the video at certain points in time, and I don't really have much control. I hope it doesn't happen too many times in this episode for those of you watching, so I do apologize. So moving along to the end column, we have number-related prompts. So I did put read 52 total books as part of one of the ones in that column. And then G are all series-related. And then for the last column, O, we do have, honestly, just a bunch of random prompts that I came up with to get me to read all different kinds of books throughout the year. And so, yeah, that's the first TBR bingo card that I made. I'm actually excited to use this and fill it in throughout the year. And maybe if you guys are interested and you want to see those updates as well, maybe I can make some posts or whatnot on Instagram, do like some mid-year check-ins so you guys can actually see how I'm actually using these and what's getting filled in. Because for the most part, this is a little bit more for me and not necessarily to show you guys, but it is something that I could show periodically if people are interested. So let me know. And then we are on to my 26 for 2026. Now, ideally, I would like to go through each of these books, but I feel like that's actually going to take way too long for the purposes of today's episode. So I'm going to kind of skim over each one, and you guys can actually go watch the short that I made where I did say a little thing about each book. Going from left to right, top to bottom on this page, I kind of tried to group by genres, except looking at it now, I actually didn't really get this 100% right, but that's okay. We tried. And some books are just really on their own too, where, for example, the only classic that I put on here is Jane Eyre, and then same with mystery thriller, I only put With Vengeance by Riley Sager. Oh, and then Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This had to go on the list, and it's also such an opportune time since the movie is coming out in March, so I feel like reading it at the start of the year and then getting to go see the movie in theaters is going to be absolutely perfect. Then I put down Midnight Library, Sea of Unspoken Things, Pachinko. If my parents are watching this right now, they're probably going to kill me that I haven't read this yet, hence why it is on the list, though. And then for some fantasy, I put two standalones, Babel and Blood Over Brighthaven, because I don't need to talk to you guys again about my commitment phobe issues when it comes to reading book series. And then on the bottom of this page, Tomorrow, Watermoon, Behind Five Willows, which, if you guys don't know, I still have the e-arc for that. I just need to make the time to actually read that. And then for the only memoir, I put Educated. Moving down the pages, this next page, and then besides the last two books you're going to see, are all romance. And mostly these are just anticipated releases, some books I didn't get to, as well as you can see, a bunch of books that I want to reread. So we have first two books by B.K. Borson in like her newest interconnected standalone, and that is First Time Color and Now Back to You, which I'm excited for that release coming out in February because I think from what I read, it's supposed to be When Harry Met Sally retelling. This whole interconnected standalone are basically 90s rom-com retellings where First Time Caller was Sleepless in Seattle. So yeah, I'm excited to get to both of those in 2026 since I didn't get to First Time Caller in 2025. And then for anticipated releases, The Night We Met, In Your Dreams. I don't need to say much more there, honestly. I also put Annabelle Monaghan's latest release, Dolly All the Time, which will come out a little later in the year. And then, as you can see, I have Emily Henry's backlist titles, except for Great Big Beautiful Life, because obviously that one just came out this past year, so I don't really feel the need to go back and read that one. Plus, I also know that I will probably pick up her 2026 release, whatever that's going to be. I actually don't know. I haven't heard any news about what that book's going to be called or what it's going to be about. But yeah, I feel like it's also just a good opportune time to reread some Emily Henry. First, it's just been so long that this is just something I wanted to do. But in particular, The People We Meet on Vacation movie is finally being released on Netflix, which means I can read the book and then immediately go watch the movie on Netflix. So that'll be perfect. And then I was already looking ahead to fall 2026, clearly, when I was making my list. And I put two fall books on here. It's different this time. And If It Makes You Happy, which you guys probably know that from the title alone, what book it is, you know this cover. Like almost every single booktuber that I was watching read this book, so I'm really hoping I get to it this fall. And then the last two books on here are literally just two Christian books. They're also both C.S. Lewis books. I put The Screwtape Letters and Mere Christianity on here because for me, these just feel like essential Christian reads that I just really need to get to. Full disclaimer for this next page, I clearly did not make it and I pulled someone else's template from online. I just got really lazy by the time I got to creating more pages and templates, and for some of them I just decided I was just gonna use other people's instead of having to create all on my own. So whoever you are, Emily Reads 15, thank you for your template. As you guys can see, this is just another reading challenge page, and it's the A to Z reading challenge. I really just threw this one in more recently because again, it's just gonna be for fun and to see how far I can get, because I highly doubt I'm gonna read a book with every single one of these letters. I feel like that's just fairly difficult, but we'll see how far we get. Okay, buckle in everybody, because we have 4 pages of series TBR that I'm gonna try to quickly go through and show you guys everything that I put on here. And these are the pages that I was talking about where this is probably gonna go beyond 2026, because as much as I would love to read every single one of these books in 2026, there's just no way that that is reasonably going to happen, considering the other highly anticipated releases, and especially standalones that I want to read as well in 2026. This is just here to kind of, again, visualize, organize, and be a reminder for me to get to some of these series. So if you guys can't tell from this first page, clearly I really want to be in my fantasy era in 2026, since that clearly did not happen in 2025. I also put a lot of these on here because most of these are completed series, so at least I know I can just immediately pick up the next book and not have to wait, which is really nice because that's usually one of my roadblocks when it comes to starting and continuing certain series, because obviously there are a couple popular series out right now that we are still waiting on books. But yeah, start going through this list. The first one that I put on here is the Powerless series by Lauren Roberts. That one is a little more recently completed. From some people's reviews too, I feel like it's a series I might like because it is also a YA romantasy that has elements that are similar to other popular series, shall we say. But it's also a very easy fantasy world to get into. You don't need a lot of brain power and whatnot to get into it, so I think that's what I want to give a try. I also put the Shepherd King duology, otherwise known as One Dark Window. We also have a Study in Drowning duology, which is perfect because A Fury in Dreaming, the sequel and finale to that one, just came out this past July, so it's now completed. Then we have the Prison Healer trilogy and the Heartless Hunter or the Crimson Moth duology. Both completed, so again, probably get into them. I think those ones are also YA, fairly easy worlds to get into. So yeah, hopefully I can give at least some of these on the page a try over the next year. Continuing to move down, I put down another actually pretty newly completed trilogy. I think Three Shattered Souls also just came out in 2025, so that's now done. But we have the Five Broken Blades trilogy by Mai Cortland. I forget what the overall series name is for that, but a lot of people said that, I think, again, also easy. It's also easy to read in terms of like the writing style. It's not super detailed and flowery or anything like that, but it's also based on, I think, kind of Korean folklore, and it has those kinds of elements, which obviously you guys know, that's something that always interests me, so I might like to pick that series up. And then I put Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole. I forget what this series name is as well at the moment. I guess one nice thing about that series is that I think it's still on Kindle Unlimited right now, so it'll be fairly easy for me to pick up if I do decide to pick it up. And then, of course, we have Fourth Wing, or the Empyrean series, which, as you can see, I do have a check mark because I have read Fourth Wing. And for those of you who are wondering when my review is coming, it is coming. I'm just kind of making that a bit of a separate video because I know I read it way back in October at this point, which probably feels a while ago. And also, I'll be able to check off Iron Flame soon enough because actually, at the time I'm filming this, I'm actually reading Iron Flame currently. I'm only a couple chapters in, like barely, not even 50 pages into the book, I want to say. It's over 600 pages at the least, so I have a lot more to go, and I highly doubt I'll finish it in December since I'm reading so many holiday books at the moment. We'll see. Never say never. And then obviously I left some spaces because we should be getting 2 more books in this Empyrean series, and it just sucks that we don't even know when the next book's coming out because I don't think Rebecca Yarros has even started writing it. I think I heard something about that she wants to release at least one more military romance, which is actually what she usually used to write before writing Fourth Wing. So yeah, that's probably going to be coming out way before the next Empyrean book. Then continuing on, these next couple pages in the series TBR, as you can tell, are taking a completely different turn, and we're going down the romance path. And I specifically made this next page a cowboy romance page because if you guys haven't noticed, I've read obviously a bunch of different romances of like different tropes. There's some that I've only read maybe one, and I realized that I don't know why cowboy romance is something I still haven't delved into considering how many authors are writing them now. Yeah, I really want to give it a try. And of course, everyone knows Done and Dusted and the Chestnut Springs, as well as the Rose Hill series by Elsie Silver. So I put all of these on here. It's also good because these are all now completed as of either this year or obviously the Chestnut Springs series completed a little bit earlier. Yeah, I can get to any of these books at any time. I also do have Kindle Unlimited for now, so it would be a really good time to pick up Elsie Silver books since her books are, or at least her ebooks are very exclusive to Kindle Unlimited. And I noticed that you really can't get her ebooks on Libby. Maybe physical copy through the library is like a different story. But yeah, if you want to get the ebook, you pretty much have to have Kindle Unlimited. Hopefully I can continue taking advantage of my subscription and at least try her books out. I feel like I couldn't take a couple details seriously when I first tried to pick up Flawless a couple years ago, and then I kind of just wrote her off. But yeah, it's something that I really want to try to go back and revisit, even if it's just a super silly palate cleanser in between like other heavier books I might be reading. I think it would be good to give it a try. I know also people are really a big fan of Lila Sage and her writing and her characters. And you guys know, I'm a really big character-driven person. I like good character development in my romance books. So if there's at least that, like, it doesn't matter if it's cowboy romance or whatever it is. Like, I'll pick it up. So yeah, let's see if 2026 becomes the year that I start reading cowboy romances. The last series TBR page I have for you guys, I'm actually looking at it right now and thinking that I might need to scrap this page or very much rearrange it because I'm looking at some of these series and I kind of put them in on a little bit of a whim at the time and what I was feeling, and I'm honestly not sure if I actually want to read these series anymore. I will keep them here for now, but I will probably have to reevaluate at some point of, again, whether I actually want to give these a try. To start off, we have the Dirty Air series by Lauren Asher. The first book is Throttled in that series, or I guess rather probably interconnected standalones. And it's so funny. The reason I put this in here was because I had a slight obsession with F1 after I went to go see F1 the movie with my cousins back in the summer. I even tried to watch the name's escaping me of the series that everybody watches on Netflix about what F1. It's like the documentary series. I think Drive to Survive. I think it's that series. I even started watching that, but then for some reason I totally just fell off, became uninterested in F1. I don't know why. Lauren Asher, from the way people describe her books and her writing, it just doesn't sound like it's for me. Maybe just to throw it in for fun, I'll try picking up Throttled, just even read a couple pages, see where it takes me, but I'm just really doubting a little more if I'm actually going to like her books overall, and this series as well. Below that, I literally have two boxes where I put Next Daisy Hates, because I'm actually already finished the 3 Magnolia Parks books, and that side of the universe, or the series, whatever you want to call it, is done. But unfortunately, we are still waiting on 2 more Daisy Hates books, and there honestly has not been any news. Like, Jessa Hastings has been staying silent on when the next Daisy Hates book's coming, so I don't even know if she's writing it or what right now. I think for now, my interest is still there, and I will continue on in that series whenever the book gets released. And then actually, next to that is a series that I actually am going to continue, because if you guys were watching last week's episode, just the last episode for this one, I was talking about my winter TBR, and I did put the next book in the Beartown series on there, Us Against You, which is on here, so I'm hoping to complete that series in 2026, especially because that's only a trilogy. And then the last series that I have on my series TBR is the Addicted series by Krista and Becca Ritchie. I feel like these books were so popular a couple years ago and everyone was reading them, which is why they've stayed on my radar, even though, I feel like the time has kind of passed for their popularity, I guess, so to speak. I'm gonna be honest, I feel like a lot of people have kind of described them as being similar to Magnolia Parks, in that you really have to be in it for the characters and the journey that they're going to be taken on, and if you really like character studies and if you can withstand and tolerate unlikable characters, but then get to see them really grow and change as the series continues. That's kind of the feel, and you'll like these books. But since I've already finished, or I've read most of the Magnolia Parks and Daisy Hates books at this point in time, I don't know if I really need to read a series that has those similar elements. I also had a little bit of trouble with the writing style, if I'm gonna be honest, because I did try to read Addicted. I think I've tried to read Addicted twice now, actually, and 2 times I put it down now because I just did not like the writing style. It just was not for me. I'm not sure if I want to take this off my radar yet, but I'm feeling very iffy looking at it right now. So again, gonna have to reevaluate. It's just also so tempting because these books are still all on Kindle Unlimited, and again, I'm trying to make use of my subscription while I have it for now. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to come back to this in a few months and see if I actually want to read it. And this is the last page that I'm going to show you guys for today's episode, and that is my winter TBR bingo, which is going to get put to use very soon because we're basically already in winter, let's be honest. Obviously, I'm going to try to make these TBR bingo cards for every season throughout the rest of the year. It's just that I've started a couple of those, but they're not complete yet. So this is the only one I have to show you guys for now. And it's literally just the same idea as the previous one that I showed you, except different color scheme, as well as I didn't really do prompts by like column and by category. I pretty much just made this one completely randomized, and I just put them in different spots throughout the bingo card just for something fun to fill out each season. And I think I forgot to mention this when I was showing the other bingo card earlier, but I think my plan in utilizing these cards and filling them out as I read is I'm going to allow myself to use one book can count for 2 prompts or 2 spots on the bingo card, because obviously in a 5x5 bingo grid, there's just no way that I'm gonna read 24 different books throughout the season that are gonna fit every single one of these unique prompts. So I feel like it just makes more sense to allow for a couple books to go for more than one prompt. And I do also know that looking at some of the ones I wrote down on this card here, at least, there's going to be some books that really only fit one prompt. They're not going to fit more than one. I feel like that's a good allowance, that I'm probably only going to have a couple books anyways that are going to be able to fit 2 prompts on the card. So that is the rules we're playing by in using these bingo cards for myself. And that is now it for the last episode of 2025. I hope you guys enjoyed however long I was yapping at all of you. Thank you for sticking around. It's truly weird, at least for me, that this is the last time I will see you guys in 2025, and the next time we see each other, I guess see each other is in me talking to the camera, but you guys know what I mean. The next time, it will be 2026, which is kind of scary, but it's also very exciting. Also, comment below or let me know what books you want to read in 2026, what at least one of your reading goals is. I'd love to hear. And then, okay, announcements before we go. So actually, all the usual things, rate and review the podcast wherever you're listening. And especially for those of you new who are listening or watching today, hello. I didn't even introduce myself properly in today's intro. My name is Natalie. I am your fully booked host. And yeah, I'm really glad you're here with me today. But if you are new, you should definitely hit the subscribe button for the YouTube channel. It's a free way to help the podcast, of course. But you will definitely stay notified of every single thing that I upload, because everything gets uploaded to YouTube, whether it's my whole backlog of episodes is up there, as well as new episodes, new videos. They're all there. I will post announcements sometimes on YouTube as well. So yeah, you'll definitely want to do that. But you can also follow along on my other socials if you want to keep up with updates that way. I do have Instagram and TikTok. I'm fairly active on Instagram in terms of posting updates on there. So yeah, make sure to go do all of that. Also, quick little reminder, I am still doing Early Access Fridays if you want to get your episodes earlier than the coming Tuesday. That's another way to go and support the podcast. The link is always in the show notes or the video descriptions, and if you choose to do that, that is greatly appreciated. And most importantly, we will be taking a 2-week break after today. So the next new episode will be out January 6th. bi-weekly episodes for the time being. But yeah, I really just like to take a longer break from posting around the holidays. It's also my birthday shortly after Christmas, so I like to take a little time and break to myself for that as well. But yes, stay tuned for new episodes in January because I will be posting my 2025 reading wrap-up, which will be very fun. All of that being said today, I hope you all have a wonderful day wherever you are. Merry Christmas, happy holidays. Actually, whatever you're doing this time of year, I hope you take some good time to yourself, as well as I hope you all have a great start to 2026. So with that, I will see you all in the next episode and in the new year. Bye! Thank you for listening to today's episode. I hope you were able to take away something, and be sure to follow the podcast for more bookish content. Until next time, stay fully booked, and I'll talk to you soon.